Well, hello and welcome everyone to a Right Capital presentation of 5 steps to optimize your advisory firm for Google Maps. My name is Daniel Gregoire, and I'm thrilled to be joined with Brent Carnduff. He is our guest speaker for today. I'll intro Brent in just a second, but for all of you that are joining us, we really thank you for your time today. We're thrilled to be able to bring you this content together. And we do want to remind you that, of course, here at Right Capital, we love to hear from all of you, our advisors. So if you have any questions at all as we make our way through the content, I invite you to ask us those questions. We have Brent here with us today. He's our local expert, so we're looking forward to picking his mind a little bit. And so for all of you in attendance, you can simply use the Go to Webinar control panel under the questions drop-down menu to actually just communicate with us directly. And Brent will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. So it's a nice presentation here for you. It's going to be one where we build in that question Q&A content at the end. So as always, again, let us know if we can provide any more context on the information that we're providing today. Now, with that being said, I'd like to introduce, Brent here. Now, Brent is the founder and CEO of Advisor Rankings, and for the past 10 years or more, Brent has been working to really, understand search engine functionality and how to really apply that knowledge for financial advisors. So, Brent, thank you so much for being here with us. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Daniel. It's great to be here. Hi, everybody. Excited to do this. I think local search is often overlooked or confused by people out there that are trying to get rankings, and so I think this is going to be a good start for us. Just a little bit more about myself. I was a elementary school teacher, high school basketball coach for a lot of years. About 2008, I decided I was ready for the next challenge. I was looking at, I'd been at that time looking at a lot of financial information for my own use. I had young kids and I was thinking about college savings and all those things, retirement plans and stuff. So started looking into financial planning information, found it really interesting. Went back to school, got an MBA in financial planning. Once I was in school, I got kind of sidetracked into a hobby website. I didn't know anything about online marketing, business, anything, but it got me interested. I started reading. At that time, Gary Vee had just written his first book, and there was lots of information about what was happening online, social media, and it all sounded very exciting to me. And so I was particularly interested in the SEO side of things, the search engine side of things. And so decided to work with advisors on marketing instead of going into financial planning. Just as a way of background, I've taken all the CFP courses, done any of the exams. Same thing with the Series 65. I've taken the course. I just about did a detour a few years ago and went into planning and was studying for 65, but decided to stay here. Advisor Rankings itself is only coming up on its first year anniversary. I've had I partnered with I was in a partnership for a little while that we decided that we both enjoyed running our own business, and so left that and started Advisor Rankings. But I have been working with advisors for a little over 10 years, as Daniel said, and I guess since 2010, and primarily in SEO. I had it for a little while spread out and worked on WordPress websites and different things, but I found SEO is something that required to stay abroad and stay informed on it, required all of my attention. So that's what I focus on. I'm happy to share this with you. Should be a fairly quick webinar, and we should have plenty of time for questions, so please feel free. Okay, just to make sure we are all clear on what we are talking about. Local Google Maps. Obviously, when you do put a search in, you kind of see this this page, and it's the local maps that we're talking about. It used to show 7 listings. In the last, I don't know, 5 years, it's only been 3. So it's getting harder to show up for those 3 rankings. It's very competitive, and frankly, it's not as, we don't have as much control over Google Maps as we do over organic search, and I'll tell you a little bit about the differences. But I am going to share what tricks I know for Google Maps, and let you know the factors that we do know that work with it. It's a valuable place to be. Google Maps typically shows up for the broad searches, so financial advisor, financial planner, wealth management, those really broad searches. And only if either they're searching from your city, so I'm in Boise, so if I searched for a financial planner Boise, I would get the Google Maps, or if they include your city in their search term. So here, I believe what I'm seeing here is from Portland, yes. So I could go financial planner and add Portland, and it would show up to Portland, but within Boise, I only have to hit financial planner. I don't actually have to add Boise to see those results. So it's limited keywords and limited search types that they do show up for. But that they are significantly better than showing up in the organic rankings. So this area over to the right, all of these blue links that we typically see with search are local organic. So they would appear under the map. So they are, if I searched financial planner here in Boise or financial planner Portland, I would see the maps, and then these listings would be below. Now, the problem with the organic listings for those broad terms, they tend to be lists. You can see 19 best Portland financial advisors, top 10 financials in Portland. Yelp is there often, Smart Asset, Fee Only Network. Those groups that make lists of best advisors tend to be there. Now, there's usually one or two, and that was the case in Portland, although I didn't show it here, one or two advisors that make those lists. So it is possible to get in those. It is helpful, but you really locally want to shoot for the map pack. There are some of the advantages of being in the map is that they're not dependent on website authority. So that's a whole other side of SEO, but over time, your website does develop authority. This is not as dependent on it. The 3-pack usually appears above the fold, so at the top of the page, right where viewers start. It has higher click-through rates. People like to click on the local pack, and it's reserved for local firms, which can be an advantage or disadvantage depending on your location. We'll get into that here. So you can really, theoretically, it could be otherwise, but practically speaking, you are only going to show up in local search for the city that you have an office in. If you've gone through the Google My Business setup, Google wants to send you a postcard, and that's just to verify that your address is in that city. So here is a search in Boise for financial planner Boise, from Boise, and you can see all of these red dots here are financial advisors that are in have a Boise address. Just over to the left of the leftmost one, okay, somewhere in here, a city called Meridian starts. Meridian is, it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country. It's not as big as Boise yet, but it's working on it. Lots of commercial, lots of residential. Not one of the advisors from Meridian shows up. If we move that this way, if I do a search, financial planner Meridian, we get all the Meridian advisors. The only two from Boise are these two, and these are paid ads. The squares show paid ads. So I talk to a lot of advisors that are, just in a suburb of Houston and want to rank for Houston, okay? And you can organically, but you're probably not going to locally, particularly if you're trying to move from a smaller city to the bigger city. So I just started working with an advisor over near Atlanta. Their white website was all optimized for Atlanta Financial Advisor. They were ranking, and by that I mean they were in the top 100, but they were probably never going to break 40, ranking 40, which is fourth page. Chances of somebody finding them on fourth page is next to zero, almost zero. So you want to focus your Google local search, your map search on the city that you're in. That's the city you have the best chance of ranking. And there are other ways you can reach, the nearby big cities. So Meridian advisors could reach Boise, but it's not going to be through local search probably. Now, Google is getting better at trying to determine, it used to be city-centric completely. So if you were in Boise, you were in Boise. It's trying to get better at being searcher-centric, meaning that if somebody was searching from the edge of Meridian or Boise, they may get the other city's advisor if they're only a block or two away, which I should back up one just to show you. This is our first tip for using Google My Business or Google Maps is proximity to searcher. Unfortunately, that's a fairly fixed thing. Your office, your location. You can of course choose to move or open up a second office, but it is an important factor from Google's mind. So it's good to understand that limitation, that you're going to be limited to the city you have an address in. Number two is your Google My Business profile, or it's now called a Google Business Profile. It used to be commonly known as Google My Business. Hopefully you have this set up already. If you don't, I would recommend getting it set up, claimed right away. It's super important for local search, one of the top three, along with proximity signals for Google Maps. And even if you don't do a lot of local search, it's still, I think, worthwhile having. But there's only a couple things that really impact Google Maps, even within the Google profile. The first is your category, okay? So Google gives you a chance to select which category you are. Financial planner, investment company, investment service, and I think there's a financial consultant as well. If you are a financial planner, I would absolutely pick that as your first. There's far more searches around that than anything else. You can use secondary searches, so that's where I use investment company, investment service. Sometimes people either don't pay attention to this or make a mistake with it, and I popped up into someone's the other day, and it was, I can't remember, dry cleaner or something like that. They just didn't notice it or whatever. So of the things on Google My Business that's most important for you for ranking in maps is this, financial planner. Secondly, and this is something we'll talk about a little bit more, this is another thing that impacts it, but you shouldn't do it. Okay, so I'll explain all of that later. You could end up with a penalty. A second factor that does really impact Google search rankings is having your keyword in your business name. Google says that doesn't impact it, but over and over and over again, SEO research shows that it does. So if you are Pearson Partners Limited, and then you say your name is Pearson Partners Financial Planning Limited, you'll have a better chance of ranking. However, again, do not do that. We'll talk about it more later, but it will end up penalizing you and you will be buried if Google sees you doing that, all right? But it does make a big difference. So if somebody does have a business name in there, you're fighting that against them. Other things are important though, even though they don't impact your Google My Business ranking, you can see in local search that they want to show the reviews. Here's the financial planner, put in when you started your business so they can show 7+ years, 10+ years. So fill it out completely. Your hours go in there, whether it's closed or open. I found, but these are all conversion factors. So not getting found, but actually having somebody click on you when they do find you. Same with the description is important because it can help you get found, or pardon me, convert once they see it. Images. If you add images, and a lot of planners really don't do this, but if you add images, it will help a lot with conversion. But again, all of that stuff is more on the conversion side. As far as getting found on or ranking, it's financial planner that you need to do. Again, pretty limited. So far, we have our office where it is, and we can pick the one word that describes us. Okay, the third of the top three is Google reviews. Some of you may not be able to do this yet. So, and if you're not sure, you'll want to check on the updated marketing rules that came out a year ago and just came into place. But if you are, my understanding of it, obviously I'm not a compliance person, but my understanding of it, and many advisors are taking advantage of it. If you are registered an SEC advisor, you can start collecting reviews and testimonials, and they have a huge impact on Google My Business. or rankings, Google Map rankings. If you're state registered, unfortunately, most states still do not allow that. However, it would be worth checking in to see what's going on, because more and more states are trying to line up behind that and allowing it. And so it'd be worth checking to see, and I know a few states did if you set it up prior, if you did set it up properly. So check with your state representatives, see if it's legal, see what's coming, see if there's anything you can do to help encourage them. I know they're often not very receptive to encouragement, but do what you can, because if you're registered with the state right now and other advisors are, SEC advisors are collecting reviews, you're going to be at a disadvantage, unfortunately, on the as far as Google Maps. They do make a difference. You can see here 41 reviews, 21 reviews, 70. It's interesting. I was doing some research on this and I'm still working on it. I haven't published it yet, but a couple months ago, I went through the top 100 cities in the US and just did the search financial planner, that city. In the top 100 cities, no one ranked without reviews, and the average first place was like 26 or 36. I can't remember. It was double digits. However, I decided I wanted to do the second 100 cities, largest 100 cities. Went back just last week and started looking at some of the old data, and it's changed. It's like I looked at New York City and there's like one review and stuff. So I'm not sure. Google's undergoing some changes, probably experimenting with stuff. They often do, things change, but I still see them impacting Google Map rankings. I don't think at this time you need 70 to be there, but a couple definitely helps. If you go to collect reviews, a couple things to keep in mind. Don't get all excited about it and collect 20 a day. Spread them out so it's more of a natural looking process. Don't offer rewards for people to give you a review. You see that sometimes. And although you probably can't control this, keywords within your review like comprehensive, estate planning needs, invested, that are underlined on the right, do help as well with search. So we have this is something many of you hopefully can control or will be able to soon, is the reviews. Moving on. Okay, so citations, which are building listings. There's some big ones. Google My Business, for example, is really strictly a citation. It's just a place online you go and register your business. But these do help with local. A few years ago, they helped a lot. Now it's less, but they still definitely influence. What Google is looking for is that your NAP, your name, address, and phone number, is represented consistently all across the web. The more times, not necessarily the quantity, but it's just they like to see that you're listed in different places, that it's consistent, and it just gives them more confidence in your business. So citations are really helpful as well. Something, again, that you can control. So looking at the way I broke them down, not all citations are created equally. You have Google My Business. Facebook is a really big citation. If you don't have a Facebook business page, this might be a reason by itself to do it, just because it's typically considered the second biggest citation. Bing is a big citation, and it's like Google My Business except for Bing. A lot of people don't know about that. Apple Maps and Yelp is another one that is very common. Plus it puts you on the Yelp listings for the local organic if people click on the Yelp. Any of your affiliations act as citations. So if you're considering joining something, it's another reason to do that. I wouldn't do it just because of that. If the citation doesn't present enough by itself, but it is helpful. So the local Chamber of Commerce, NAPA, Fee Only, all of those different groups. There are a group called aggregators. You can see over here on the right, Data Axle. These are really big in that they spread the information out to other business listings on their own. So they take on a bigger significance. And then you can find locals, if you get very specific local ones, you can search for them. Just type in a Google search, city plus directory, and they may come up with, San Francisco businesses or something like that. Get the local ones, they're helpful. So you can find even some of your own here. But really try to make sure that it is your name, address, and phone number is consistent across all of those. And I would recommend whatever it is that's what your Google My Business is. So start with that and then move from there. But that means if you move, if you change phone numbers, if you do anything that changes that, you need to go back to all of those listings if you've created some already and change them, because inconsistencies will bring your rankings down. So make sure you keep up on all of those things if you do make a move. Also, number 5, and this is a little bit smaller, not as big a factor. The website's getting to be less and less of a factor, but the NAP should be on your website. So you can put it on your header, you can put it on your sidebar or on your footer, and that way it appears on every page. The example on the right is a footer for an advisor in Minnesota. So he has 3 offices, and he only wants by appointment, but he just put that on there. So his address is on the page, every page of the website. One thing we could do to add to this, I know he just recently added a local phone number, and that's a good thing to have. If you have multiple offices in different, within an area, get a local phone number, just get a local Google number for each so that it's represented by that rather than a 1-800 number or the same number. It gives you definitely a point of differentiation. So one of the things we're going to do is add his local number for each of those offices, because they're in different cities right around the Minneapolis area. This is continuation of using of the website, just talking a little bit about the importance of having a website optimized. Part of local takes into account your overall general optimization. It's a smaller point than a lot of people think, but it does include it. I noticed here when I did a wealth management search here in Boise, the first 2 that came up had wealth management in their name, and remember we talked about how advantageous that can be. Helmstar Group didn't, but it said it provides wealth management. So why did Google pick out it provides wealth management? Well, I dug into their stuff a little bit, and I saw in their listing that it says we are an investment advisory wealth management firm. So it picked out wealth management from their description. So that's that's their description of their homepage on their website. So they mentioned their keywords in there, and Google picked it up. Now, how much of a difference did that make? It may be very little, maybe none. I suspect because it's listed some, but it helped that they had 3 reviews and that they're financial planner and other stuff. I know they rank for the other terms as well, but it does pull from your website some as well. Here's a bonus one for you. We talked about adding your name or adding your keyword to your business name. So, and I said how helpful it can be, and also that you shouldn't do it. And this is why you shouldn't do it. But this is what you can do about it. So I found a firm that has, in addition to their name, they have fiduciary financial advisor at Albuquerque, New Mexico in Google My Business. All right, you can see it right here, Oakmont Advisors. All right, so that has helped them rank #1 in the Google Maps. You can see that it's an ad above there, but it's helped them rank #1 on their site. Now they also have 22 reviews. They've been in business for 10 years, so they may rank there by themselves. But what you can do if you check your local rankings and you have somebody that is gaining an advantage, it's not part of their first official name. These are actually keywords, but they may have said, wealth management group or something. But you can click on their listing, just click right on Oakmont Advisory Group. It'll open up what's on the top right there. You'll see a part that lists their address and different things, and it'll suggest an edit. You can then suggest an edit, and it'll open up what's at the bottom that says suggest an edit. And one of the things you can do is recommend a change of name. Now you can actually go in and change it. It'll open it up and it'll look like you can. So you just go in, highlight the fiduciary financial advisor, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and erase it. It doesn't make a change on their actual listing, but it does go to Google, who can then check it and remove it, or have them remove it, or whatever. So don't add your name, but do some spam fighting. Make sure that you're competing on an equal footing with the other people in your area. So to review, the top three are your location or proximity to the searcher. So if you have an area, that you really want to hit, maybe consider opening a satellite office there at some point in the future, if there's a suburb that you'd really like to hit. Google reviews plays a big role if you're allowed to do them, and making sure that you have financial planner selected as your Google My Business category. And that is it. I know we cut a little bit short, but Google My Business is really restricted to those few things on the primary. So I'd be happy to answer any questions now if you have any. Anything about SEO would be great. I would like to actually make one offer to you before you leave, because most of that stuff you can control or have to control, which is unusual for SEO. A lot of times we need somebody else to build a link for us or whatever. If you would like to build citations, we usually build that as part of an overall package that's long-term and stuff. We don't offer a separate just citation building package, but that can be time consuming because you have to go in and put all your information in. We're going to offer you 50 citations plus the 5 aggregators. We won't build your Google My Business page or your Facebook page, but we'll register you at the 50 other citations. That could be Bing, could be Yelp. We'll include those if you don't have them already. Build the 5 aggregators for $250, which is just a little bit over cost. By the time we put in our time, it's a loss for us, but would like to help you get those citations built. If you're interested in taking advantage of that, feel free to shoot me an email. You can see my email down there, Brent at Advisor Rankings. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my social time. You can see my website there. And then if you want to schedule an appointment, you simply go SEOappointment.com and it'll bring up my calendar and we can talk more about your general SEO. I'd like to thank Daniel, Right Capital, for allowing me to come in. And again, if you think of questions after this, feel free to shoot me an email. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, perfect, Brent. Well, thank you so much. And we, obviously we all know these days convenience is everything, and optimizing for Google Maps. We all know, not many of us are scrolling too far past that second or third page, when we're searching for what we need. And as Brent said, with the new SEC marketing rule, compliance date just rolling past, I'm sure there's lots of opportunity to be the early bird that gets the worm with some of those, maybe some of those testimonials that we know are now available. So a lot of great questions. So we're actually just going to dive in to some of the ones that are rolling in. So Brent, just want to pose this first one for you. I think this goes a little bit back to talking about like affiliations. And the question is, what kind of value do you think having a Better Business Bureau accredited listing that you pay for have to an advisor as it relates to, SEO marketing?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's a great question. 4 or 5 years ago, and this gets a little bit, it was a really good one because it's local, which makes it a good one anyway, as far as a citation. But it also used to be what we call a follow link, meaning it gave it helped share BBB's authority with your website. They switched that to no follow like all the other citations are. So it's not quite as strong. Now it's more, used to be a link, backlink, which is really significant. Now I consider a citation, but it's a good one to have. So when you get into like Daniel said, the affiliations, I would add that one probably next. Have your advisor affiliations, Chamber of Commerce, Better Business Bureau would be a good one. Now, if that is your only reason for setting up a Better Business Bureau paid account, I probably wouldn't do it any longer. I would have used to recommend it, but it goes to that proof, social proof also. So it's makes people it helps as a conversion factor, showing that you are part of the Better Business Bureau. So there are advantages to it.
Great. Oh, thank you so much, Brent. Another really good question here, I think that you know, hits the mark for a lot of people is, you know, we have an advisor here who's a virtual planner, and essentially they have their home address and mailbox address, you know, listed in a specific city. And is there a way to use Google local search so that maybe they wouldn't have to reveal their actual home address in that case?
Yes, good question. So yes, you have an advisor in another city and you can rank locally in that city. So when you go through, because he can receive a post or she can receive a postcard there, when you go through your Google My Business setup, there is an option to not have your address shown. So click that. Your address will not be part of Google My Business. It will not be displayed there, but your city will be. And the same thing on the bottom of the website then, rather than list out your advisor's home address, I would just put the city and maybe the, you know, the zip code and the phone number. So absolutely, if you have virtual advisors, you now have an office in that city.
Great, perfect. And you know, this actually might kind of tie into that. So this is a question that says, you know, what about part-time office space or co-working space? Would you recommend using that as a pin on Google Businesses, or would you think that using that more general approach, like you discussed previously, would work better?
Yeah, so I have a few advisors doing that, and it can work. So 10 years ago, Google came out and said, you know, we're going to really fight this, and they did. They don't always accept it. They make it, but it makes sense now with everybody going more virtual or spreading out and working from their own home space, that places like Regis and WeWork and stuff are going to be homes for financial advisors. And so my feeling is that any resistance Google at one time had towards that has disappeared. And so yes, you can open up an office and say by appointment only in the neighboring city and have that address and receive a postcard there and potentially rank for that city.
Perfect. Wonderful. So this is an interesting one too, and I think it relates to just the actual, you know, the naming conventions. And a question came in that asked, you know, when you're using your business name or setting it up, let's say, you know, what are your thoughts on, you know, including the entity type, incorporated, LLC, for example, and does that have any impact on turnover or, you know, appearance under, you know, search engine customization?
Yeah, interesting. I don't believe it has any impact one way or the other. So, but I again keep it consistent. So if there's some place or legally, if you have to include the LLC, then just include it in all of them. I typically just go by that. If legally required to include LLC or the extra, then do. It won't hurt you. Otherwise, I generally just go with the business's name when I'm setting it up. Just it's a little friendlier reading as a consumer, I think.
Perfect, perfect. And Brent, I think we have time for one more here, so we'll go ahead and give this one to you here. You know, so you know, overall, you know, what are your thoughts on you know, the role that content plays in local searches?
Yeah, so from a big picture SEO, content is huge. From local SEO, it plays less of a role. It would be more going towards local organic. So that could be one of the ways you reach, you know, Houston that's next door to you by some of your content in the local organic stuff. It doesn't play as big a role in Google Maps though. In fact, website, although I gave some hints for websites, I've done, as I went through this research of the top 100 cities, I found a couple. Google says it's potentially you could rank without a website, and I found a couple that did. One linked back to their LinkedIn page, and two others I think went back to their Google My Business page. So the overall website and content, although huge overall from an SEO perspective, as it pertains to Google Maps, doesn't play a big role.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, you know, that was just very insightful, Brent, and thank you everyone for all the wonderful questions. You know, Brent, we really appreciate your time here and sharing your expertise with our users, and certainly we hope everyone enjoyed this and found some insightful tips. But Brent, thank you so much. It was great to have you today.
My pleasure, Daniel. Thank you.
Wonderful, everyone. And for anyone who wants to catch a replay of this webinar, you can simply visit Right Capital's Help Center, help.rightcapital.com, visiting the recently recorded webinars area. You'll be able to find this for future reference. So everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next webinar here at Right Capital Financial Planning Software.